And this tool is kind of weird. It has it's very sensitive, and it requires a lot of like trial and error. Let me just go full screen. And for example, like it works on one part and it doesn't work on other parts, so you probably need to do do it on several times, and you know erase the parts that you don't need, and and stuffs. Okay, so if we uh, I think it takes time to play around with this, uh, but let's just remove this for a sec. And okay, have oh, there are also other ways to extract out these. For example, I've copied the exact same one. Let me just hide the other ones. So this is a copy of this. Let's just rename. And you can also for example make this a just desaturate this. You know what, I don't need this adjustment, but make it make it so contrasty so that you can easily select just the white, something like this, and copy it into a select everything, do a copy, paste it on a channel, and you can select the white parts this way. And by doing so, if we go level and then we sort of like reduce this, see how I start to pick some. This takes a really long time actually to remove this. I think I spent a good 2 days just to make it so that it goes from all this little just to remove all those little parts, make the color as close as possible uh, to a flat color. And it's actually okay to leave some green and a little bit of purple. Definitely want the redness on the nose, but I will add stuffs up later, uh, also by doing a lot of test renders to get the the, the texture details. Okay, so just to be quick, so you see, this is this is a levels operation, another levels operation, some fixed, just this dark. So just basically like photo manipulation, just making it so that also I actually tried blurring all the texture details and use this as a base, but it didn't really work. So I remember I decided to use the slightly detailed version. But obviously the thing with color map, color texture, it doesn't require as detailed as you would think it is, in my opinion anyways. So let's just close this, and when I have fixed all the projection up to around that point, and I began to, you know, see how these teeth are just flat color with some, you know, slight color variation. Very very simple actually, and so there's some, you know, tweak there, and all these are like, you know, tweak and, you know, test rendered, so it's a time consuming process definitely. You know, the lips, the top lips and the lower lips, so I can control each individually. Tongue here also, there's a bit of a shadow highlight operation going on, and then you know, some redness going on, very little. Let me just if I can get the cut. So this is the color. I'm color picking, and it's a very subtle tone, and it's overlaid. If I go normal, I guess it's more obvious, but just keep say for example this is a color, and it's, there you go, it's clear now. I hope the recording can capture it, but definitely for this one. But you know, all these started with, like, you know, just subtle changes. Some are definitely more obvious, like for example this part, just to darken up the part of the color, and all this you know, detailing is done in Photoshop. Okay, some redness here and there, you know. As you can see, it doesn't have to be sharp. Actually, if you make it sharp, it looks not realistic. So see how, say for example, this you know, red blemish thing here, it is like, you know, like probably this one, and this is already, you know, the strong one. As a matter of fact, I think the bottom projection is picking up that part, right? See how it's near the smile line. So that's where the projection also helps in you know, adding some details, but definitely it's blur. It's not sharp. It doesn't have to be. Like for example, that one is as sharp as that, even though when we look at it here, it looks like, you know, already super sharp, like somebody poke a hole there. But that's, I think, one of the key. Don't over do the texture in terms of the sharpness and detail. But of course, but at least this is my understanding of it. Excuse me. Have also definitely very important color variations, like one second. Let's just go to the color variation slightly later. This part, just some spots added. See all these, and the scalp has also some. This is a, see how this has like an imperfection skin that I'm not sure how to call this, but oops, it's this one. So as I mentioned in the first video, I was referring a lot from this just one photo. So and I got a pretty big one. So I refer pretty much just for this photo on the texturing detail as well, and of course I took some, you know, liberty to change stuff accordingly. Some veins. Okay, this the vein. I like to make it sharp. I want to sort of like exaggerate it so that if probably somebody notice it, and but it doesn't really end up that noticeable in the render anyway. But it's a good thing, because you don't want you know, something really stood out and make it, you know, grab attention too much that pulls off the realism, right? Just a little color there for the tear duct, the eye corner, and this one I did also the tongue color correction, just very simple, you know, contrasts, desaturate, that's it. Yeah, I was saying definitely pay attention to color variation as well as details. Like for example, notice this part has a bit of a greenish tint. So here we have slightly greenish tint. Here normally for people who has shaved head, or you know, shaved, they will change color. The skin will change to a more you know, grayish. So I also have that, even though here definitely it's not that obvious. So you know, improvise and think I guess. And what else? Definitely for eyes, they are warmer. Also have some, you know, veins there, I guess. I was looking also for other photo references, like you know, high-res pictures from 3D SK or somewhere else, and I try to incorporate some other stuffs into, because I think definitely eyes are important. So like those spots, I probably just add those up. Some places need to be exaggerated and some need to be pushed back, but basically that's it for texturing. Extremely simple, but of course time consuming, because pretty much you have to do test renders and a lot of them, and you know, have a clear direction. Remember the map, then I think it makes life easier. Otherwise you'll be looking at 100 photos and not being able to decide what you want, and probably just end up either adding too much or end up adding too little. But anyways, that is it for the let me okay, this one. That is it for the color map. Like I mentioned, it's 8-bit. Yes, 8-bit RGB. Ah yes, this bump map, I created I copied the bump grayscale, and just make it a soft light with a very low opacity, just to push in some of the crevices. Definitely this is used a lot in like game textures, but to be honest, in a high polygon models, is not, you can, you don't have to do it that obvious because it's in the model. Anyways, it helps to add some texture imperfections as well. So that's it, and you can see here the bump map is converted from the displacement map that was extracted using ZBrush, the displacement rollout with a highest DP subpix. This one's 16-bit, by the way, and this one at 8K res with the DP subpix of 4. I think it was pretty slow. I remember I left it for lunch and came back probably 40 something minutes. It took 40 something minutes. So just but I just thought I wanted to try to preserve as much details as possible. So I was hoping for the number 4 as the highest will do that, because I haven't, to be honest, I haven't figured out how to do the 32-bit displacement in V-Ray. I read about it using EXRs and stuff, but I haven't experimented with it. So I'm already comfortable with 16-bit displacement. That's what I did, and that's it. And for this bump map setting in the 3ds Max bitmap loader, remember to decrease the or just right click. Sorry, I have 3D Studio Max closed because I was having again a memory issue I mentioned earlier. So decrease this so that you can get sharp bitmap, and we've covered this, and that is it for this part. We can then move on to the coat material and the blend material, the blend amount. And let me close this, and we will continue. Let me see if I have anything else unnecessary opening. Okay, so let's continue and talk about setting up the blending. And let's just open 3D Studio Max real quick. Excuse me. Okay, so we'll just I don't know how familiar you guys with blending. To be honest, I don't use it that much. I still use the old, like, blend material, the 3D Studio Max default one. But anyways, there are some stuffs that I guess I can share. Let's just let 3D Studio Max load. Oh, it is loading. Okay, let's just open up the little file. This one, I guess, is lighter. Right, if we drag this over, and you'll see it's a fall off map. Looks like nothing, but it's a fall off map, right? You can get fall off map either hitting this somewhere in here, or just get it from this get material and then go maps. Either way, so it's a fall off map that that is instance from here to here. And this I refer back to Adam Lewis's uh, thing here that let me see. Okay, so it's this one. So in this part, I was pretty much copied his settings. So I was learning as well. So it's a never-ending learning process, I guess. But anyways, I learned from this setting how to set up the fall off, but change the fall off type to Fresnel from the default one, and leave this as default. I think this is by default is off as well. And then here in Adam's screenshot there, it says 1. So I ended up changing the value, because he mentioned in let me see. He mentioned that there are no strict rules when setting up fall off. So hold on. Okay, there you go. This is the word from the man himself. There you go. This one. There are no strict rules when it comes to setting up the fall off, as in real life materials don't have linear fall off and stuff. So oops, where did that go? Okay, so when I first started, before doing all the test renders, this was set to 1, and the side is definitely 100% there. So also in my shader setup screenshot, I mentioned if it's hard to visualize how the fall off looks like, there's a trick that you can do. Just I don't know, get a V-Ray, just that regular V-Ray material. Again, I can't double click there, it's weird, and just drag this into the diffuse slot, and you can visualize this better. For example, you can also play with the curves this way, for example, and there you go, and you'll start to see that, for example, there you go, you get, or you want to, like, really sharp ones. But anyways, play with it. Obviously this is, like, scene dependent, depend on what you need. It's not set in stone, right? So that is the one way to visualize what this curve and this fall off thing is doing. And continuing, since the blend fall off, excuse me, excuse me, the blend fall off is controlling the coat material. So let's talk about the coat material itself, which is just a regular V-Ray material, and then and again, this is initially based off Adam Lewis's settings. So let's just use his here, that black, fully black diffuse. Let me just pull the V-Ray material out so you guys can see what it actually looked like on its own. And then if we go to his original setting, it's white. There's no fall off here. Let me just do a copy, and then we'll clear this for now. And then this glossiness number, we'll talk about this glossiness part later. It's very important, but I'm not gonna remove this for now. And this glossiness value, since well, now it's controlled by a map, so this number is nulled. But if you open the stock SSS map, and once if this this setup is successful, the blending setup is successful, and excuse me, without if it's successful without a map, the glossiness number, say for example, if this here is 6 and this here is 0.6, it will look exactly identical to the pixel. The math behind it is, I think, the same. So we'll keep going, and we'll copy his settings first. So sort of like a reconstructing, and then obviously there's a cross there to not turn this on, so we won't. And the IOR here, that remember, if we turn all these off, right, and there's still IOR here, now the IOR is, since there's nothing there, and then we are blending this, so this IOR acts as this IOR now. So that is why it's circled there, and it's important. And this is also this is one of the awesome discovery that I think Adam found, that he said the SSS2 the stock SSS uses a Phong BRDF, whereas the default V-Ray material uses Blinn. Let's check that out. There you go, it's a Blinn. So that is awesome, because I did tests, and actually the Phong specular looks better. At least the look that I wanted, I got it from a Phong, not from a Blinn specular. So this is a great finding. So other than that, everything down here, I think all is the same. No idea why I checked that off, but it shouldn't be. Just, it doesn't matter. And I mentioned earlier that we have, if I go back to my screenshot, we'll start talking about this one first, I guess. So let me show you something that I give me 1 second to sort of think how to explain this in the clearest way, or let me read this first for 1 second. Okay, okay, I remember how I wanted to explain this. So going back to here, you see here I put a note that says this V-Ray material, the coat material, controls reflection intensity and as well as tint, and also a dual specularity. So let me just explain first the dual specularity, because this is the simpler one. This dual specular idea is from the mantle ray fast skin shader. So if you notice, the mantle ray skin shader has two speculars. One is the broad one and one is the narrow one. So I read discussions. People were like, wishing we have two specular layers for this SSS, but unfortunately it's not in the stock shader. But Adam Lewis actually in his digital tutors file. Well, I purchased the digital tutors video tutorial, and inside he included the scene file, and I opened it up, studied it, and I found his dual specular setup, which I think is awesome. So let me explain you how, and again this is based on Adam Lewis's, so he is really a big influence on, at least on this, on my version, on my understanding as well. So the dual specular is basically a composite. So if you go composite here, instead of like bitmap, regular bitmap, go composite. This is like a layering bitmap, tool for layer. Like you can add layer, you can delete layer, definitely. And this is to load the another like the load bitmap. This is the mask, and stuffs. Go read the manual if it's very simple, shader anyway. So and then remember how, if we don't have the map texture map slot filled, then we are only using this glossiness parameter, and this 0.6 parameter is identical to the pixel with this, if this is also 0.6. I mentioned it earlier, like that. Well, since we are controlling it with a map, and if the map is just a single layer with a value of 0.6, then logically it is also identical with this 0.6 parameter value typed in, and I did test and it is identical. So we got sort of like with a composite, if I delete this, and it works just as a single layer, so almost like just a bitmap loader, and that's it. With this one, so when this bottom is the only one active, the glossiness result will match identically with the specular glossiness of the SSS2 shader, this one, and also will match identically with this one, excuse me, this one, with this one's turned off. So I hope you're following with me so far. I know this is kind of hopefully not confusing, but anyways, now that we know that this number is actually this number, and this number is like one specular layer. That is the best, the easiest way to explain, I guess. And the other specular layer, which the sharp one, is done by this composite. Well, initially, I thought my logic was, since this has a reflection, therefore has a glossiness. This basic Virion material has reflection, and this base, the regular Virion fast SSS, has also its own specular. Initially, my logic was to have my logic was to make the dual specular from one from here and two from here. You understand what I mean? Because both has, oops, sorry, another screen glitch there. So one specular from here and one specular from here, and that makes it a dual specular, which is pretty logical, right? Since you have one underneath another. So this is, for example, the dashed one is this one. So you have, first specular, and then the second specular, and then that was my logic. But it doesn't work because in the manual, let me just point that out real quick. The manual mentioned there's a built-in Fresnel. There you go. Note that there is an automatic Fresnel fall-off applied to the specular component based on the IOR. So it doesn't work because this one has Fresnel, this one has Fresnel, and you have issues there. So Adam figured out that composite method, which this is taken from his scene file, which I studied, and it was, the way he did this is to have the second layer type as screen, and just put a hand-painted gloss map there. This hand-painting gloss map I will explain in a bit, but this is the way to get a dual specular, just like the Manta Ray's fast skin shader. Let me just explain to you, let me just point you out why bother having this dual specular. Why is it so important? Let me just show you real quick. For example, an excellent example from Lee Perry Smith. This one, These are a series of renderings that he did using Arnold's skin shader. This is, I think everybody knows what this model is. This model is his own face scanned, so it's very interesting. So I was talking about the importance of dual specular. So if you look at this head, say for example, this very soft specular is the bottom layer, and this sharp one is the top layer. It's impossible to, and you kind of need to have both sitting on top of each other. So just by having a single specular layer, I think it's not possible to reach this level of realism, at least in terms of the specular detail. So that is why dual specular is very important, at least to me, and at least this is how it's set up. So it's not set up as simple as putting one in the base and the other one in the code. Base meaning the SSS and material, and the code meaning the V-Ray, so material. So not as simple as that, unfortunately, but Adam figured it out, so kudos to him. And when let's just quickly, the specular map is very the gloss map actually is very simple. It's just there's no need to draw details on it. I just use like a ZBrush poly paint, just use very soft brush. I want it like sharper. Well, I followed pretty much this one. I wanted more reflection on my nose. You can actually see on the result, excuse me, that see how this specular is there's specular variation. That's what I'm trying to say, between say for example the nose and the chin. For example, nose is oilier, top of head is slightly oilier than the chin, but not as oily as the nose, and so on and so forth. So this kind of variation you need to control with the gloss map, and that's the whole point of the gloss map. It doesn't have to be detailed. You just have to tell the shader certain areas have higher glossiness values, certain areas have lower glossiness values, and there is I found a way to figure out the color value in terms of grayscale. Like, okay, for example, let me just open up a notepad real quick, and for example, we decided we have a 0.55 or 0.6. We'll just say, okay, so for example 0.5 as the base, right? And we wanted the nose to have, for example, a 0.9 gloss value. Okay, so how do we, and this operation is screen, by the way. So it's a screen is not an add, because if it's a simple add, then in Photoshop we can just paint a value of 30% black and it's done. but a screen is not a straightforward add. And that's why I wrote here that I don't know the math behind the operation screen. But after trial and error, actually, I figured out that if we need a value of 0.3 to fill in this blank, then we will need to first multiply it by 2. I did this by trial and error, so no idea where the times 2 come from, but it works. So you need to paint in 60% black, and then with a screen operation, the result will be very close to the 0.9 gloss value that you wanted. Okay, first of all, let me backtrack a little bit and tell you where does this 0.9 value come from. For example, how do I know I want a 0.9 value for this glossiest part, so to speak, or the highest highlight, the brightest highlight part? Okay, so in order to find out what this number is okay, this is what I did. So this is a I was doing this test render when I was figuring out what my glossiness value that I like, and this head is that Stanley model with a pure black and just full specular, so something like I just wanted to know the glossiness value, right? So what I did is just make it pure black so that it renders black, full specular, like this one's 0.9, no diffuse as well. Doesn't show in the shader ball. Let me see what's causing that. I guess it's the specular. Nope. Anyways, sorry. Let me just switch it to a regular V-Ray material. Okay, so if it's a pure black and sorry, not fully specular, but this is just what I'm trying to figure out, what glossiness number. So a glossiness number of 0.9. So this dash is actually point. We can because I don't want to confuse the point with the file extension. So this is 0.9, and this is 0.2, and let me open Photoshop, and I can compare it better by switching on and off the layers. So alright, so this is 0.9 and this is 0.2. 92. I'll show you I'll explain in a bit. This is 0.95. Okay. this is 9.7, so it's almost near white now. This is going down 0.8, so we'll just drag it down like so. 0.8, 0.7, bear with me. I have something to explain here. 0.7 and 0.6. 0.5 and one more for the 0.4, and that's all. Right, so we got all the glossiness number variations, and then sorry, let me scratch what I was saying with this, you know, and go back to this. If this is we'll just stick with this color, but if this is 0.9, and then the on my model it looks like that. So if it's 0.8, it looks like that. So this was, you know, tested. And so on and so forth. If it's 0.7, it looks like that. And as you can see, the even in this shader ball preview, you can see the lower the number, the broader the specular is, and also it gets weaker. So see, it's broader and it's weaker. Up to this point, it's almost like a you know, like a diffuse, not a specular. But anyways, see how the higher the number, the more intense the reflection is, and definitely tighter, right? But then I found out something interesting. When you go over 0.9, which in this case 0.2, it starts dimming. It is still tighter, but it's dimming. See how it's tighter, but it dims in itself. And at this point, it's like you know, very dim, but it's really tight. And it's actually what I was looking for. So this 0.7 gloss is like all this beautiful little you know, specular highlights that I think really sell the realism. These tiny ones, because most of the renderings that I've seen, especially on this thread, this thread in CG feedback is like of 2 years old, but still active. It is one of the most amazing threads in the forum. But anyways, a lot of posted examples. A lot of them are good, by the way, but a lot of them has a broad specular, but lacking this tiny sharp specular, and this is what separates Lee Perry Smith's rendering with to like a whole different photorealism level. Anyway, so that is how I figure out my glossiness numbers, what I want, how I want it to look like. And I definitely my broadest my base is like, you know, this 0.6. So and what I built is on things on top of this one. Excuse me. Picking where I think need this type of highlight, and where needs this type, and where need this, excuse me, this much. So it's as simple as that. So just, you know, see, all these are like, you know, tiny, and see how this is the brightest part if we compare to the final render. Excuse me, let me pause the video real quick. Okay guys, sorry, I had to pause the video just now. So I was saying the glossiness map is as simple as where you want your specular highlights where you want it to be the brightest, you know, and where you want it to be less. So this controls just that. So moving on, we're almost done with the material. The last part is just there's one more fall off that, remember, I cut it out from this and into here, and I'll brought it back in a bit, but let me show you something. We don't need this anymore, so we don't need this anymore. So it's this one, right? Sorry, not this one. By the way, oh, okay, it's these ones. So I was setting up the Fresnel reflection with these test renders, and what I mean is after I set this Fresnel blend with a default value of 1 to 255 there, as you can see, default 1255 Fresnel there. So this, at this point, it's identical to Adam's setup. And then I was playing around with this number by increasing it. So I ended up having this, and then I went further by increasing this to 20, and that's what I got. So I got a brighter, obviously, but also a more sorry, in terms of spread, because if you can see, for example, if I just increase this, you can see that it gets, sorry, scratch that, let me rephrase that. So I was testing the Fresnel, the blend amount for the front, and at 20, and then I realized I realized I was controlling the brightness, right? But then I also found out that if I turn this down to from a pure white to a 30, and then I get that, which is that a dimmed, much dimmer reflection. And so I cranked this back up to a value of 45, and because obviously this is way over, and I arrived at a value that I like, which is a 39. Well, I guess 40, then probably I hit like something like that. Anyways, this is just number that I did test with. Excuse me for 1 second. Right, so I was saying I got this value to 39, and then I was happy with this, the way the spread and the intensity, I think, is nice. And then a few seconds later, I realized I'm getting this black outline. Let me show you what I mean. If I open this file real quick and open this with a Photoshop like so, and if I compare it to this one, where let's just go normal, like this one, the default one, just this one. So this is the latest test render at that time. So latest, which has this sort of settings, right? And this is the earliest. Renders, which is doesn't have that black outline problem.